No? We're having a joke with lips. The monkeying around hasn't finished yet. Thank you for the coffee. It's empty. The letters for tonight are these. He's never, however, bothered to ever apologise for his words or his behaviour, so I can't ever believe him. Who do you reckon that might be about? Second letter tonight. I'm from a family where the men are men and they scratch their groin, fart, watch sport and so on. This bloke plucks his eyebrows, waxes his legs, trims his chest, wears makeup, and that's her current boyfriend. Do you reckon he's going to fit into that family? What is all the noise over here? We'll be with the panellists fairly shortly. Why do we bother? Why do we want to play on the international stage? What are you doing, Michael? What's the advantage? We have so many areas in our own country that we need to resource. All these letters, a few less panellists, but a few better ones coming up very shortly. Sweet and sour, don't go away. What are you doing?
Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our motley crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Yay! Nothing like vigorous clapping. Welcome to Sweet and Sour. Thank you, guys. Lovely to have your company. Gary Mitchell with you for the next half hour. Let's meet our panellists straight away. Vinnie's here. Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm pretty good, actually.
Looking very... You're always pretty good. You hosted a segment on this show a few weeks ago for our panellists to recall. How did you go?
I was very nervous at first. I actually kicked the desk a few times by accident.
Oh, is that why we had to get it repaired? Oh, all right. Would you do it again?
Yes, I would, actually.
Okay. All right. Next time I'm out of here? Maybe. All right, darling. Welcome back to the panel. Hello, miss.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Candice. Lovely to have you back.
Pleasure to be here as always.
You're studying.
I am. I'm studying. I've got a lot of different bits and pieces going on at the moment.
You sound like you've got a lot of bits and pieces going on at the moment.
I'm right here, aren't I?
Yeah, of course.
Just one of my many bits and pieces going on.
It puts you... Agreed. Puts you in good stead to answer a lot of these.
Well, here's
People
hoping.
with a lot of experience?
I wouldn't say a lot
are
of
valuable
experience.
to this... well,
Just
no.
Jack of all trades, but master of none.
Okay, sounds like a bit like myself. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, Anita.
Hello.
Always bright, always happy. Where have you been
I am.
today? You started early, you told me.
Oh, just running around, just clients and jobs, yes.
Did they all leave with a smile on their face?
I also had to do my tax return today, so I met with my accountant.
Yes, that's always a pain in the bum for me.
She's lovely though.
She's
looking after me. That's how
female accountants are good.
Yeah, that's how you know you got a good accountant.
Because she's a female?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand
Just getting warmed up for the first letter here.
Okay. Sherry, hello, love.
Hey, how are you going? I'm good.
Second stint on the panel?
Second time. Yeah.
Ready to go?
Yep, ready.
Read the letters?
I have.
In a word?
Interesting.
Good word. Here we go, first letter. Dear panel, I don't understand why some people want to come to the defence of Tony Abbott. He's a misogynist through and through. Just because his wife comes to his rescue and says he's not, doesn't mean a thing. A misogynist makes himself one because of the vile stuff that continuously keeps coming out of his mouth, echoing what is really in his head. Wives come to the rescue all the time, especially in politics. That's to be expected and disregarded. It doesn't excuse any previous demeaning behaviour towards women. This man just claims that he's not a misogynist. He's never, however, bothered to ever apologise for his words or his behaviour, so I can't ever believe him. Can the panel ever tolerate this man being the Prime Minister of our country? From Vesna in Kensington in New South Wales. Okay, Candice, fan or not a fan?
Must say I'm not a fan, but to say that I'm not a fan of any of the politicians in at the moment, regardless of political side or party, none of them are really doing it for me right now. If we had an election tomorrow, I'd be really hard pressed as
Tony
to
Abbott, Malcolm Turnbull?
I couldn't separate them, to be honest. They're all equally as charismatic.
Tony
as the
Abbott,
other.
Julia Gillard?
Very slightly Julia Gillard, and only because of the speech, because she's been saying...
Which speech? The one where she...
The 15-minute one that went viral around the world
Right
about
topic.
misogyny, right on topic. I must
Question, do
admit,
you think he's misogynist?
well, it depends on how you define misogynist. You know,
Someone who has a bias against women, not someone who necessarily hates them.
The traditional definition of misogyny is a hatred for women. I don't think he has a hatred for women.
Neither do I.
But the Macquarie Dictionary, in the wake of Julia Gillard's speech, did come out and saying that they would look at broadening the definition of misogyny to sort of look at the entrenched prejudice in the system. And I think that he is a product of entrenched prejudice in our society against women, not by everyone, must say, but certainly in some areas, and including politics. Why else do we pay so much attention to what Julia Gillard wears, looks like, stumbles over her shoes? Why don't we pay that much attention to her policies?
I don't.
Well, I'm glad that you don't.
Our media does.
And not just the media reflects.
Our media does because it reflects what people demand.
And that's quite right. So I think that, and you know what, it's a problem with women as well. It's not just with men. A lot of women perpetuate this because they look at what Julia Gillard wears and relate it to themselves, and that is the way that some women relate this to themselves.
Interesting you say that about women reflecting on other women, because I know on this show as well, a lot of our viewers who contact us are women referring to other women who've been on the panel, and they love to look at what they look like, what they're wearing, how their hair is, how their hair should be, that sort of thing.
Working in TV, that was the only thing that I ever got pulled up on. I didn't like what she wore, but what about what I said?
Yeah.
Did you like what I said? Did you like how I said it?
Did you get a breakup between males and females?
It was always women. It was always women that commented. Always. And it's the way it is. But take people at who they are. When they're in a role like that, yes, you've got to be presented somewhat.
Would you like Tony Abbott as your Prime Minister, or does he need to learn a few things before he becomes...
I would like to see him grow from this experience, but I don't think he's ready to be a Prime Minister.
Has he ever apologised for this sort of stuff? I don't know whether he has.
Do you apologise for something from 10 years ago?
Is there a need to apologise?
I think that the things that he certainly said were wrong, but they were also a decade ago, and things have progressed significantly in a decade.
All a decade ago. I've seen him standing next to photos.
Yes. You know. Oh, that was terrible. He should never have put himself in that situation.
Silly.
But I hope that he will learn from that situation and not put himself in that situation.
Vinnie, you're younger. You're a TAFE student, etc. How do you view this situation now? Do you like Tony Abbott?
Not really. I think he is a bit sexist.
Okay. The man who's on his heels, Malcolm Turnbull, do you like him more? Do you know who he is?
Not really.
Okay, all right. And if you had to choose between Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott, which you don't, because our system doesn't allow that, you vote for the member in your area rather than... but who do you prefer out of those two?
I like Julia Gillard a bit better, just because she did stand up for herself. And that,
okay, that was a big thing for women, to stand up for her and reclaim some of the ground that had been etched away.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would stand up to myself and be like, well, if you're going to accuse me every time I'm in the public eye, then might as well stand up for myself and take a stand back.
Yeah, all right, that's good. Anita, do you understand, do we know why it went viral right around the world, Julia's speech?
When I saw it, I could see how upset she really was and how fed up she was. I mean, it's hard for her. She's the only female Prime Minister we've had in a very much male-dominated, environment. And the men, it's not just Tony. It's the majority of men that they think they can just get away with it because she is a woman.
It's an easy put down.
Exactly, and it shouldn't be. So I believe that Julia, what she said was great in actually standing, her mark and sort of saying, well, this is incorrect. I am a woman, but you shouldn't just disrespect me. You shouldn't judge me. Let me just, judge me on my policies and what I have to say, as opposed to me being a woman, or the way, I'm dressed, or the way I have my hair. She's a human being as well, just like a male.
So you view Tony Abbott's position as being somewhat misogynist?
To an extent, but I mainly think maybe he could be a little bit intimidated because she is a woman, and it is...
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
On the back foot.
Yeah.
You need to get a little bit of an edge in politics. If it's because she's a woman, why not?
I just think she's doing a good job.
Sherry?
Compared to what Tony can offer.
I think we forget that politics is about a party and their promises and not necessarily about the people, and they're arguing between themselves and that overshadows all the good work that they could do. So yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of Tony Abbott. I think he says some very stupid things, and whether or not he's a misogynist is irrelevant. The perception of him from the public is what will determine at the end of the day.
Very true. We've got an election coming up in a year. When we come back, we're going to be talking about, we're going to take a flip from misogyny to metrosexuals. Coming up, don't go away. I don't even know what a metrosexual is. What's a metrosexual? Welcome back to Sweet and Sour. If you'd like to send us a letter, thank you. Send it to the address that's about to appear on your screen, which is letters@sweetandsour.net.au. There it is right there. And every letter that we do like and we read out, we're going to send you to the movies, courtesy of the very lovely Natalie Cameron, who's a new mum. And there's the movie that she's going to send us to, Beasts of the Southern Wild. And apparently it's based on a book.
I believe so.
Do you know who it's written by?
No, I do not.
Never mind, then we'll move straight along. And if you want to give us a like on Facebook, just go to facebook.com/sweetandsour and we'll appreciate it. Hello, Mitch and panelists. Am I in a relationship I shouldn't be? He's a great guy, but he's a metrosexual, so he keeps telling me. He spends more time getting ready than me. He's really high maintenance, but it's all his own maintenance, and he never demands things of me. He plucks his eyebrows, waxes his legs, trims his chest, wears makeup, and loves watching The Voice and House Husbands. It's just that I'm from a family where the men are men, and they scratch their groin, fart, and watch sport. I do my best to keep my brothers away from my boyfriend, and my father would just die, I think. Should I move on in spite of it being a good, caring and loving relationship? Because we're from different worlds. Liana of Toorak Gardens in South Australia. Sherry, our resident sexologist, you're first up on this one. What's going on here? She's going out with a bloke who spends more time in front of the mirror than she does.
Liana, if he loves you just the way you are, then you should just love him the way he is, and probably what attracted you was that he's completely different from your, what is it, father and brothers? Fart and scratch the groins and so yeah, leave him be.
If you're from one particular background and all of a sudden you're going out with and potentially going to end up with someone from a very different background, can it work?
Sure, it can work, and like she says, he's caring and loving and it's a good relationship, so I don't know what her problem is.
And what's the rush in Liana's mind? Why does she have to make a decision now? Why can't people just let the relationship develop? Why are they always trying to decide things now?
It sounds like Liana's quite young, so I would just relax, enjoy the relationship. He's good to you, just relax.
Anita, there's got to be something wrong with this bloke, surely though. He wears makeup, he waxes his legs, he trims his chest, he plucks his eyebrows.
So many, maybe he's just really hairy.
Why does he wear makeup? To hide the hair?
Well, maybe he has ingrowns from the pimples.
You're being
I don't
nice.
know.
Why are men spending so much time doing that sort of stuff?
Look, they are these days, unfortunately. They, well, maybe not unfortunately.
Crew, what are you doing? Anyone on the crew call themselves a metro?
There's more.
Not one.
There's more and more grooming products out there for men that they can choose from. Even with fashion, guys are spending more and more time on looking good. And look, in the long term, at least, you know, if you've got a guy looking after himself now, you know, in 20, 30, 40 years' time, he's going to be looking a lot better than, you know, your brothers who
see Quentin Crisp,
are slobs by the sounds of them.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. They don't necessarily look better just because they got a painted face.
No, I mean, like, he's looking after himself. You know, if he was to put that much pride into making himself look good, he's probably healthy, he goes to the gym, you know, probably shaves his legs because all the other guys at the gym shave their legs because that's what's happening at the moment.
He loves watching The Voice and House Husbands. I don't give a damn about that.
Well, maybe he's getting tips on how to be a father, a husband.
Maybe he's an employee of Channel 9.
Vinnie, do you like a bloke who wears makeup and waxes his chest and does all of those things?
Well...
Don't let me bias you. There mightn't be anything wrong with it.
Not necessarily. Like, I'd be worried But I wouldn't be worried if he wore like a little bit of foundation to hide the blemishes and stuff. But when he starts getting into the like eyeshadow and eyeliner and mascara, then that's when I would start to worry.
Do blokes do that?
Well, only if they're drag queens.
Guy liner.
Okay. Well, that's
Rock stars wear guy liner.
guy liner.
Yeah, but that's different because they're on stage and they're performing and they gotta look good
Guy
to
liner.
impress the chicks.
Okay.
So, I think he's gay.
You think he's gay? All
think
right.
he's gay.
Candice, last word on this one. What's going on?
I don't think he's gay, but I think she needs to ask herself a few questions. So, if his behaviours make her feel less of a person or less of a woman, then she needs to address that. She needs to think, is it something that she can move past? None of us are perfect and we're all different, and we're all going to find in our partners some things that we don't like or don't necessarily agree with. So if these are things that she can move past, and I would strongly suggest that these are things you can probably move past.
Superficial.
If you can move past them, do. And when it comes to your brothers and your dad, you know, my dad would just die if he showed up with a guy with makeup. Let them make up their own mind. They'll tell you if they don't like him.
I've got to say, if a bloke turned up, if one of the nieces or the relations turned up with a guy with makeup, we'd all sit around and go, "Hello, mate, how you going?" And all of us privately would go, "Did you cop that? Did you see that?"
But you wouldn't hate him.
No, but you wouldn't bond
You'd think
with
it was a
him
bit
instantly
weird.
either.
But you wouldn't.
He's,
But you
I
wouldn't
think
What's
hate
he's
weird?
wearing lipstick and mascara and blush. I think maybe he's just got a bit of foundation. He might be very insecure about his skin.
Any
Might have that
metrosexuals that are famous that we should know of?
David Beckham.
David Beckham.
I would
Ah.
count. I
Alright.
would even these days kind of count the Hugh Laurie's. He's doing.
Really?
He's the cover man for L'Oreal these days.
Oh, is he the older man that we were talking about that would look better when he wears makeup as he ages? Possibly.
Maybe.
We're going to change the topic. When we come back, we're going to be talking about spending millions internationally. Don't go away. We'll see you soon.
Well, viewers, you definitely got some great opinions from some sweet and sour people.
Welcome back to Sweet and Sour. Straight into the last letter. Hi, Sweet and Sour guests. Australia just spent millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to win a seat on the United Nations Security Council. I'm sure that's a great thing, but no one's been able to tell me why it's so good yet, and I've been listening and listening and listening. Apparently, it's been 27 years since we had a seat, so in all this time, have we been disadvantaged because we haven't been there? And it's for the huge period of time of just 2 years. Why do we bother? Why do we want to play on the international stage? What's the advantage? We have so many areas in our own country we need to resource, but instead we spend millions on what I believe is a total waste. Can someone please explain why we spend so much on these international pursuits, and for that matter, why we also spend millions on foreign aid when we have people on the breadline? It just doesn't add up to me, and it comes to us from Dennis of Cannington in WA. Anita, you're first up on this. Do you mind that we're spending millions and millions of dollars to secure a seat on the United Nations Security Council?
Well, look, it is hard, but I think, look, millions of dollars isn't a lot, as
A lot to
opposed
me.
to like billions
I
and
don't have
millions. Well, yes,
As
to
opposed
us,
to
yeah,
billions.
as opposed to a whole
Sounds like a
country.
lot.
It does. It sounds like a lot. But look, I think this is great for Australia. It is an opportunity for us to have a voice, to voice our opinions, our ideals, and our values about peace and security, and to be able to negotiate with huge countries like the US and just build alliances with them is, I think, in the long term, if anything was to happen globally, then it's in a way where we're protecting our country by being able to communicate and negotiate on an international and global level.
Sherry,
I
your view on
agree.
this?
Yep, I agree. I think we're citizens of the world. We're no longer citizens just of Australia. We engage with other countries for our product, both inward and outward. And so, yeah, if something happened in our
It's
region...
for a 2-year period, though.
Yeah, but you can do a lot in 2 years.
What are some of the outcomes that I'm missing?
Well,
I don't have a problem with foreign aid at all, and I understand that most of our foreign aid is spent on Australian workers who are sent to the foreign countries to help them develop to a level that we would be very pleased to do business with, and they're able to trade with us. So I don't have a problem with foreign aid. but I tend to question our voice on the Security Council, especially when it's only for 2 years, because you've just got into the swing of things and then you're out.
Or are you?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Or are you?
It might be renewed after 2 years.
Yes, you are. It might be what?
It might be renewed after 2 years.
A lot of countries vying for it. If it's not, have you wasted all that money?
I don't think you ever waste something when you're talking about peace on a global level. So I think, you know, we can get all caught up in talking about war and instead of talking about peace.
Do we have a monopoly on that wisdom?
No, we don't have a monopoly on that wisdom. So we spend a lot of foreign aid on education, and the more educated a nation becomes, generally the less they will fight between themselves. The Security Council oversee 15 peacekeeping sanctions around the world. There's over 100,000 troops in the UN Security Council. So, you know, we're looking out for all of those people as well, and for our own security. And we are engaged in...
it's real. We're talking about people's lives.
Yeah, and we do
It's
engage
not
with the rest
just
of the world. We're not isolated, much as we like to think, you know, that we are. We're not. So we have to engage with the rest of the world.
All right. Candice, are we wasting our money?
No, we need to forget this Fortress Australia, Fortress Island nation mentality and continue to engage with people in the world. We do have a lot to offer, whether that be our military might, for lack of a better word, but certainly we have some great quality people in our defence forces who can contribute to situations like Syria, which are just internationally appalling. We can pursue peaceful goals through diplomacy. We are not technically a nation at war, therefore we are able to think with a clearer head about these kinds of things and negotiate without the emotion of my neighbour is literally killing my children right now. We do have a lot to offer, but we also have a lot to gain. When it comes to, you know, engaging with the international community, engaging with our neighbours, there are going to be benefits. You know, you are going to be able to negotiate better when it comes to issues like asylum seekers, refugees, because you have those relationships already established. It also makes sure our interests are represented, for lack of a better kind of situation. We don't want a country that is ideologically different to ours on the Security Council. Not that this was an issue in this case with Finland and Luxembourg, and ironically it was Iran and Africa that gave us the winning votes, but we want our ideology from purely selfish Australian reasons to be represented on the Security Council, and it's a big win. Is it worth $25 million? We'll see, but there are benefits.
$25 million. Vinnie, younger person's perspective, what does it mean to you?
Well, I think it is a good idea to have someone on the council because it is looking after everyone's safety basically, and it is a voice for Australia because we're not the little nation anymore. We are growing up basically. But yeah, about like asylum seekers and stuff, I definitely agree with Candice. Like we need a voice, and I think it is a good idea for $25 million.
A voice to put our perspectives. Very good. All right, we've got to go, but before we go, we've got to work out which letter we give away the pair of limited edition sunglasses, courtesy of Alon Treves and Aussie Optical. Which letter do you like?
I did like number 3. I thought it was a very pointed question.
Vinnie, which letter did you like?
Give it to the metrosexual.
Metrosexual, all right. Anita?
Number 3.
Number 3,
Yes.
all 2 for number 3. Sherry, which one did you like?
I still think the metrosexual one.
Oh, okay. Nah, metrosexual's not going to get my award. Nah, number 3, we like the United Nations as well. Coming out to Dennis of Cannington in WA. Actually, he didn't like it. Our panel was fairly united on it being a positive thing.
I think he just wanted an explanation.
We need you need to have the glasses to change your perspective, mate. Dennis of Cannington, WA, coming out a pair of limited edition sunnies. Thank you, Vinnie. Lovely to see you.
Always good to be on the panel.
Good to have you here, Candice.
Pleasure
See
to be
you again
here.
soon.
Absolutely.
Anita?
You'll see me again soon.
Of course we will. Sherry?
Yeah, I'll be back.
Good on you. All right. Thank all of our wonderful panellists. Thank all of our terrific crew. And thanks for having us in your home tonight, Australia. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.